Hey everybody, this is Mr. Longo here, and this video is going to cover how to solve and graph inequalities. So inequalities means not equal. An equation means two things are equal, and inequality means they are not equal. Okay? So we're going to just start with something simple. And that is how you graph an inequality. So if x is greater than or equal to 3, then you have a 3. And if x is greater than or equal to it, that means the 3 is included. And then it could be anything greater than 3. It could be 5, 6, 1,000, 1,000,000, it doesn't matter. Alright, so that's how you graph. Now, I know some of you have seen where you put the circle on the line, you have to color it in, and you have to color the line that way. That's technically the same thing, but when we get to compound ones, graphing the line above will be a little bit easier to see the compound inequalities. Okay? Next one. X is less than a negative 2. Now, some of you have been taught in the past that you always have to include the 0. I don't want to see tick marks in between. I don't need a whole bunch of tick marks. It just takes up too much time. All I need to see is your negative 2. If x is less than negative 2, that does not mean the negative 2 is included. So you use an open circle when the negative 2 or whatever number is not included, and we go to the left, because that's where x is less than a negative 2. So finally, the last one says 2 is greater than or equal to x. Now, when the number comes first, you have to think of it in reverse order. So if 2 is bigger than x, that means that x is smaller than 2. If you think about it that way. It's easier to graph an inequality if you have x first, because then your arrow will point the same direction as your inequality sign. So if 2 is greater than x, that means x is less than 2. In this case, we have an equal to, so we're going to have a 2, and x is less than or equal to, meaning you fill it in, 2. All right? So that's how you graph a basic inequality. So when we talk about solving, you solve pretty much the exact same way you solve an equation. You just have to get x by itself. So 2x plus 3 is less than 9. That means 2x is less than 6 after you subtract 3 from both sides. And then after you divide both sides by 2, you have x is less than 3. And then you just go graph it. So you have your 3, your open circle, and point to the left. So it's just old school solving, but now we're just going to have an inequality symbol, so we're going to have to sketch a little graph. So why don't you pause the video here, try the rest of these problems, and then click play when you're ready to see if you can handle it. So for this one, we had to divide both sides by 3. And that would give us 4 is less than or equal to x, which means x is greater than or equal to 4. Notice x is pointing to the 4. This one, x is pointing to the 4. Make sure they're the same thing. And then you have your 4 greater than or equal to. You should have colored and gone to the right. For the next one, 1/2 x, to get rid of a half, you just have to multiply by a reciprocal, or anytime you're getting rid of a fraction. So x is less than or equal to a negative 16. So you have your negative 16. Less than or equal to means you have a filled in circle, and you are going to the left, where x is less. For the next one, it's just solving again, so you subtract. When you're doing inequalities, a lot of times it's easier to go to the left for the graphing point of it. So you're going to have your 2x plus 3 is greater than a negative 7. Subtract your 3 from both sides, and you have 2x is greater than a negative 10. So x is greater than a negative 5 after you divide by 2. Here's your negative 5. Open circle because it does not include the negative 5, and you are going to the right. Now the last one, let's see if you were able to catch the old trick. First you subtract your 3, so you're going to have your negative 2x is less than or equal to 8. And then you're going to divide both sides by 2. And then did you catch the fact that you have to change the direction of your sign because you divided by a negative 2? Okay, and in case you don't remember why that happens, every time you divide or multiply by a negative sign, you have to change the direction. And here's why. If you say that negative 2 is less than 5, we know that's a true statement. But if you were to divide both sides or multiply both sides by a negative 1, then that's going to give you 2 is less than a negative 5, which you can see is a false statement. That's why whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, you must change the direction of the sign to keep it a true statement. Okay? So that's why. Go back, you've got your negative 4, it's greater than or equal to, solid dot, point to the right, and you are done. And that concludes this video. This is Longo and I'm out. See you, bye.